Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. Me, I am Illuminati, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show, as always, live every Thursday, 7 p.m. sharp Atlantic Standard Time. Yes, and if I'm here, who there? You know Stevie there, you know Henny there, and thank you for being here, as always, where we take our merry time and decrypt this cryptic world of cryptocurrencies. It's a pleasure to have you with me. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. Guys, this evening, we have to talk. Last week, we would have talked about the virtual assets and virtual asset service providers bill. That conversation was brought on by the numerous amounts of misinformation that was being spread across the social media regarding this bill and its contents and what it's going to do to the environment of cryptocurrency and blockchain here in Trinidad and Tobago. So we had that conversation, but coming off of that conversation, the amount of messages, the amount of side conversations, people meeting me in the areas where I roam and operate and asking me some questions, right? And considering that today is season 7, episode 7, lucky number 7, I thought that over that time, I would have done sufficient enough of a job in 187 episodes to not just inform about what is going on in this crypto space, what I'm doing in this crypto space, but a little bit about this crypto space in general. And I realize that there is still so much more to learn. There is so much misinformation. There is so much misunderstanding around cryptocurrencies, around blockchain, around Bitcoin, around Ethereum, around stable coins, around NFTs. And, what I was planning to do today is to talk to you all, share some of the information that I have acquired over the past few years in this crypto space, maybe go over some of the things that I have already gone over in terms of the value proposition of crypto and Bitcoin, how to get started, all these kind of things. But I decided that I'm not going to do it that way, right? So before we go on, housekeeping, right? No matter what a stripper tells you, this podcast is not a financial advisory podcast. I am not a financial advisor. Everything that is shared here is based on the ICE rule, right? Information, conversation, and what we're talking about today, education, right? Do your own research. Get your own information. And on the back of that whole idea of doing your own research, I thought that today I wasn't going to tell you anything. I wasn't going to educate you on anything. I was going to do something different. And today I am going to share with you my journey, my educational journey in cryptocurrency, right? Because like I told you all, like I've said before, I got into this space. 2017, I got involved in a small way, lost my shirt, right? Said this thing is a scam, right? And then after reading a book by the name of *Sapiens: A History of Mankind*, I had the opportunity to be reintroduced to crypto, and I was able to see it with different lenses. And I started my journey down the path of finding out more about this space. And eventually I fell down the proverbial rabbit hole, and here I am all these many years later. But along the way, several people, several bits of content would have influenced my understanding of cryptocurrency. And today I wanted to share some of those with you guys so that you can use some of these reference points, use some of these resources to gain your own appreciation for what this crypto space is about, right? Because these people, these podcasts, these programs these books that I'm going to share with you guys today, they explain this thing so much better than I could, right? First and foremost, and probably the most like technically sound educator when it comes to Bitcoin and blockchain, Andreas Antonopoulos. If you've listened to my podcast before, you've definitely heard his name before. Bro understands it, he gets it, he explains it, he puts his Bitcoin where his mouth is. He's one of the earliest people in this space, speaking on it on a major scale, going to conferences. In the early days, if you bounced him up, you might have gotten a Bitcoin or two. Clearly, that is not possible again, but Andreas Antonopoulos, one of the absolute best in terms of breaking down the technical value proposition of Bitcoin, especially. You know what I mean? He helped me understand this value proposition of Bitcoin. You know, imagine having a value exchange, value preservation mechanism that is audited every 10 minutes, every single day, every single week, every single month of every single year, in perpetuity, audited by millions and millions of auditors everywhere in the world. I mean, just think about how special that is, right? So, without question, Andreas, one of the key um, people for me in my initial journey. KC Crypto, another very, very strong advocate and someone who understands it in a more practical sense, and I think explains it very, very well. Her and I differ in our political perspectives, but as it relates to Bitcoin, crypto, she's one of the very best. Go back and look at some of her early stuff. Ivan on Tech. Ivan on Tech was one of the very, very first people I started listening to. Bro was super entertaining. Every single day I would get up every morning and prepare to listen to his podcast, Elio Trades, as it relates to understanding small market altcoins. Bro was one of the very best at explaining things. Then I did some like formal courses from Andreas's program, Udemy. I did a course from the University of Pennsylvania, Farquhar School of Business, on blockchain for businesses. What else? I tuned into podcast after podcast. People like Raoul Pal, who understands this thing from a very clear macroeconomic perspective, coming in from his years in the TradFi space. I would say go and listen to some of his earlier stuff. I think he's become a bit of a maxi on yeah, we're gonna leave it there. But definitely some of his earlier stuff, Michael Saylor, another person who understands the application or the implications for Bitcoin from a traditional financial perspective and the long-term value proposition as a store of value. He's somebody that you can listen to. But all in all, what I would say is, you just have to be very, very discerning. If you are looking for clarity and some context about Bitcoin and crypto from a Caribbean perspective, go back to season 1 of the Crypto and Cognac podcast, season 2 of the Crypto and Cognac podcast. We have spoken to some of the biggest names in the regional crypto space, from people building centralized central bank CBDCs, people building NFT projects, people who are creatives who use this space to build value for themselves and their families, people building projects, people working in some of the biggest projects and companies across the space, from OpenSea to otherwise. So not to just plug myself, but what we've done in the Crypto and Cognac podcast over the last 187 episodes, I think there's a wealth of information there. Again, information, not advice. So key, do your own research. As with anything, if you don't understand it, you can lose your shirt. If you do not know about real estate investing and you try to get into real estate investing, you're going to lose your shirt. If you try to open a business and you don't understand how to run a business, you are going to lose your shirt. If you do not understand Forex trading and you try to get involved in Forex trading, you are going to lose your shirt. And if you do not understand cryptocurrency, blockchain, Bitcoin, and you try to invest in it, you are going to lose your shit. So, most importantly, get to know the information. For the most part, is free. You do have to do a formal course. You do have to get a formal certification. There is enough information out there. Be discerning. The people who are giving you information and recommending that you buy something, they may not have your best interests at heart. The people who are just giving information for giving information's sake, who not recommending you buy anything, who not asking you to, subscribe nowhere, those might be the best people, right? That is my 2 cents. But before you jump out yourself, before you buy any crypto, before you sell all your crypto, before you panic, do anything, or you let euphoria take you away, please get the information. That is the advice that I'm giving you tonight. That's the advice I'm giving you last night. That's the advice I'm giving you tomorrow night. Right? Get the information. Learn before you burn. And remember to drink, drive, and degen responsibly. That's my time. Guys, thank you for being with me for another week of the Crypto and Cognac podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit us up on Crypto Caribbean TV, Crypto Caribbean on Instagram, on Twitter, Crypto Caribbean TV here on YouTube. Yeah. And we will see you next weekend. Stay safe, guys. It's a crazy crypto world out there. Illuminati out. Be blessed.